Photography is my passion since I was a young teenager and bought my first camera. I still love to just go outside and take self-portraits wherever my feet will take me. But there's one big issue I always struggle with. I can't seem to find my own unique style when it comes to editing. In this video I will try to change this and create a Lightroom preset I'm confident with and which can be used on any other photo as well. Lately I haven't been shooting much photos because I hardly find the time to go outside. I'm going to discuss the reason for this in the different videos, so subscribe to my channel to stay up to date. For a very long time I actually didn't really put that much effort into color grading my photos. I wanted them to look as natural as possible with my overall theme of combining people and nature. Only for a few years I have been playing around with Lightroom and tried to make my photos pop a little bit more. To achieve a good look, I'm going to test this preset on a few different photos of mine, and of course I will be shooting some new photos because I just missed to go outside and shoot some self-portraits. So let's not waste any more time and let's go! Dude, these birds are crazy. Listen. Wow, it's just so loud. So, I think I took enough photos for today. It was kind of difficult because this place gets so many visitors, especially during winter time, because our famous river here in Düsseldorf gets flooded by all the rain that's coming down, and usually we have these huge fields of green grass and it now is just flooded with water. So yeah, it gets a lot of visitors and it's kind of difficult to shoot some self-portraits with all these people around. But I think it's good to step out of your comfort zone, and that's what I did. So that should be enough for today. Let's get back to the studio. So now I'm in Lightroom and I picked a few photos on which I want to test how a style I created for one photo affects another photo and how it is possible to create one preset and one style for all kind of photos. This is a photo I just took in order to bring some new elements to it, a new photo. I think I'm actually going to start with this one because it's new and I had some sort of look in my head and I want to try and create this look on this photo. So the first thing I'm doing actually to almost all of my images is to do some basic corrections like brightness, shadows, highlights, all of that stuff. So I'm going to be using this first panel here, and the first thing I'm always doing is to increase the shadows really a lot actually, because I want to see all the details in my photo. And yeah, I'm shooting in RAW file, and you should all do this because RAW files has way more information than JPEG, and you can get so much more details after you've edited. So yeah, increasing the shadows and decreasing the highlights to get a higher dynamic range, to see what you're doing in your image or what the sliders are doing in your image. You can look at this histogram. What it basically shows you is we have the blacks, the shadows in this part, the midtones, the highlights and the whites. So this way you can see how much shadows are in the photo or how much white tones are in the photo. So if we increase the shadows, you can see how all of this shifts to the right into the shadow part, or more like from the shadows to the midtones. And same goes for the highlights. What I like to do then is to decrease the blacks to get a little bit more contrast again. And also, increase the contrast just a tiny bit. I don't want it to be that much contrasty to achieve this natural look I was talking about. I'm not going to touch the exposure for this one because I'm not sure how increasing or decreasing the exposure will affect other images, so I'm not sure if it's working for a preset. I think this looks decent enough. We can maybe decrease the shadows a little bit because I don't know if it might be too much for other photos. Next thing I want to do is increase the clarity just a tiny bit. I don't want to make it too textured, but just a tiny bit, and also bring the dehaze a little bit up. So what the dehaze does is basically dehazing your photo. So if you have, like, let's say a very foggy or misty photo like this, for example, you can crank up the dehaze slider and bring back the contrast to your image. So I'm going to do this just a tiny little bit and increase the shadows again. This is for the basic corrections. Now let's try and achieve a look, and for this one I'm going to all the way down to the calibration panel, and I talked about the calibration panel in my last video, so if you haven't seen it, go check it out. It's linked up here somewhere, so yeah, if you haven't seen it, go check it out. What I would like to do now is create some sort of teal and orange look. And I think this photo should be perfect for it because I'm already wearing a yellow orangey sweater and the background is basically just a teal color. But I want to increase this a little bit more and make it stand out more and pop. So what I want to do now is decrease the hue slider of my blue primary and also increase the saturation. We're going to fix this oversaturation in a bit. This is how I want the colors to look like. Also, maybe increase the green primary to get a little more natural skin tone, but we're going to fix this in a minute as well. So maybe even decrease these sliders, the saturation sliders of these a little bit more, and increase the saturation of our blue primary. So the blue primary is actually quite important for the teal and orange look. So this is the easiest way you can achieve this look. Now this looks actually quite good, I think. What I like to do next is to go into our color grading panel. I also talked about this panel in another video, so go check it out. It's also linked here and in the description. This way we can make this look stand out even more and also get back our natural skin color. So what I like to do is go into the shadow part, this little wheel here, and just drag this slider into a more teal color. So I would describe teal as a mixture of blue and cyan. So this should be fine, and yeah, we want to do it quite a lot, but not too much, so I think this should be fine. And to get back a more natural skin tone, we can use the mid-tone slider and find a nice skin tone color, maybe like this, between yellow and orange. And we don't want to make it too much, but just a tiny bit to get back a more natural look. So if we turn off this correction and turn it back on, we can see how, yeah, my skin is a little bit more natural again. Maybe make it just tiny bit more into yellow. And also for the highlights, we want to get a tiny bit orange, just a small bit. Maybe we increase the midtones just a little bit more. I think this should be good. And to get the bluish tealish color out of my face, we can use this balance tool and just move it a little bit more to the right. So yeah, we have a better skin tone and not bluish somehow. That's it for the color grading part. Next thing I want to do is look at the HSL panel. So in this image, I believe we don't have any greens, but if I want to edit some other photos and look at other photos, I will have some greens in my image. What I would like to achieve is not to have some greens. So I'm going to crank this green slider to the left to develop the greens into a more yellow tone. And for the yellow parts of the image, I want to make it more orangey. Maybe for this one, we can also get the orange a little bit more into yellow. So this way we're having a better contrast on the blue and yellow parts of our image. To make the blue a little bit more tealy, is it a word? I don't know. I don't know. I just made it up. We can put this slider a little bit more to cyan, and you already see how this affects our image and makes it even more vibrant and cinematic actually. For the cyan or aqua tones, we make it a little bit more into blue, also to make it more cinematic. And yeah, I think that should be already good enough for this photo. And let's look in our saturations. So I want to also decrease the saturation of our blues just a tiny bit, because I really want to make the yellow stand out in this image particularly. So I will increase the yellow saturation of this image as well, and also maybe just decrease the orange a little bit, so that the skins are not oversaturated. For the luminance sliders, you need to be careful, because you can really fuck your images. So, for example, if I would decrease the blue slider, it just looks unnatural, at least for me. I don't know if you're liking this image right now, but I will maybe brighten up the blue parts just a tiny bit to make it, more natural actually, because the blue skies aren't that dark, at least when it's sunny outside. Yeah, that's it basically for the color grading part. Now, to get the details also look quite good, we're going to sharpen the image, and that should be done on all of your images as well. We have this little close-up image of our photo, and this way we can increase or decrease our sharpening. It's already set on 40, so I think this is a good amount for sharpening your images. But I really want to not sharpen all of the images, but just the contours of myself actually. So what I want to do now is to press Option on my keyboard and turn the masking slider here all the way up. So what this does is to sharpen all of what is white in this view now. So we have sharpened all these contours of myself and a little bit of the trees. So if I would turn this on and off, you basically don't really see much difference, but it's there, and it's just a tiny amount of sharpening your image. Okay, now so we have done some basic corrections and some color corrections, and also sharpened the image and give it a little bit more detail. And this is basically the look I was going for. Normally I would also work with some mask to make the subject in my image pop even more, and work on the colors and on the highlights and the shadows. So in this case I would do a mask and create this icon here, background. So what Lightroom is going to do now is to create a mask of the whole background, and it detects where the subject is in your photo. So that's pretty cool. And now I have a mask of all this background except of myself. So what I would do now is to darken up the whole image to make myself stand out even more, and maybe also get a little bit more blue into it to make it look really cold and that stuff. But that's for another part, and now I want to create a preset and see how it would affect other images and how this look will work on any kind of image. So to do this, we're going up here into our preset. I already have a few presets like this one, Crazy Kefalonia. I used this to color grade my Kefalonia photos, and also some wedding presets I did for a wedding I was shooting with my girlfriend last year. So these come in very handy when you're working on a lot of photos actually. To make a preset, we are going to click on this icon here and say create preset, and I'm going to name this one teal and orange Cinna, and maybe portrait, because I might do some other presets that only work for landscapes, let's say. Here you can select all of the different tools you want to include in this preset. So for this, it's important to include basic corrections, HSL color grading, all of the things were actually done. What I don't want to include is the transform tool, because if I had transformed this image, all the other images would have been transformed in the same way, and of course we don't want this. And also the masks, because I don't want to have the same mask on any other image because it's not working. Let's create this preset. We have it here now, and let's move on to another photo and see how this preset is going to work on this photo, for example, and what we need to change to make it work. So yeah, I'm quite nervous. Let's see. Okay, this actually looks quite good, so I'm quite surprised. It's actually just the way it should look like. The only thing I might consider doing is to get rid of the greenish tones. Here there are a little bit more greenish tone, especially in the shadows. So I might get rid of them by decreasing the tint tone into a more magenta look, but not too much. And also in the calibration panel, we can get rid of the green tones in all of the shadows. So yeah, I think this looks actually a lot better. And also for this one, I would also maybe turn the yellows more into a orange tone to make this golden aura stand out even more. But overall, I think it looks just fine. So this is actually just how I wanted it to be, to have an overall look and then do some more corrections and get into a little bit more of the details and stuff. Let's see if it also works for this one. It's taken on the same day, so I think it shouldn't be a problem. Okay, so for this one, the colors are just fine, I guess, but it's way too dark and I would need to really increase the exposure to make it much less dark, I guess. And also really increase the shadows as well, and maybe put a little bit more contrast in it. So when we increase the shadows and decrease the highlights and also increase the exposure, we are losing a lot of contrast, so we're going to put it back in, and maybe also with a clarity. But yeah, I think that's already looking really good. Even the skin tones are looking quite good for me. I would maybe increase the midtones in my color grading panel as well, because we have a little bit blue tones in here, and maybe also decrease the blue tones just a tiny bit, and also the greens. But yeah, I think this works just fine. Let's see if I can make this teal and orange look be a little bit more present as well by playing around with the blue primary in our calibration panel. But yeah, I think I like the look, and I think it looks just how I wanted it to be. So let's move on to this one I took on Kefalonia, and if I apply the Kefalonia look, it really looks good. So I really worked hard on this preset to make all of these images look quite nice. If I want to use the teal and orange, you can see it's similar to what I created with the Kefalonia preset, just a little bit more cinematic, I think, and not too bright and not too saturated. So I would, of course, maybe brighten this a little bit more up, and of course put back our contrast and clarity for this one as well, and maybe even get back a little bit of the blue tones in the shadows, and just like so, maybe see what this does to our image. And I think it looks quite good if we compare it with this one. It has less blue in it, which really want to change. Using the temperature slider for this one, yeah, I think this looks already quite good. So I have worked on my different presets a little bit more and adjusted a few more things until I was really happy with the result. To try this one onto more different photos, I imported 2 more images to see how it would look like, and I think I created the perfect preset for myself. I know that this process is going to take a little more time to do, so I will still have a few more things to correct after I used it onto more photos in the future. But I think this is a good basis to start with. I know this process will take much more time to actually achieve a really good preset that can be put onto any other photo as well. So I will take this time to really put a lot of work into it and achieve a style I'm very confident about. But I think I really did a good job on the basis for this preset. And if you enjoyed watching this video, feel free to give it a thumbs up. It will really help for me to get this video seen by many other people, and subscribe to my channel to stay up to date and see more of my videos and tutorials as well. And I will see you in the next one.